Chapter 41. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The enemy was scrambling to get out of the way. Luffy drew back his bow, a golden arrow materializing between his hands. With a whoosh, the arrow shot straight for the Kraken's remaining tentacle. Frustrated that his attacks were being thwarted by the same guy, the Kraken switched targets, aiming for Luffy and the others. Everyone on the Sunny let out a collective sigh of relief. Gear 3rd. Luffy was still ready to use his rubber powers to subdue the octopus. Armament hockey, harden. What's that? Usopp. It's different than before. Chopper, the Kraken, already fed up with Luffy, sent its tentacles flying towards him and his companions. Sanji scoffed, "You stinky octopus, on your way out and you still wanna mess with us?" Sky walk. Sanji shot out of the bubble. Mr. Sanji flew out of the bubble. Brook. What is that speed? He's like a fish man, it's incredible. Usopp, soaring through the water, Sanji flashed back to the hell he endured 2 years ago. Running. Running, after 2 years of constantly running from those creepy weirdos, you're not even a monster. You're kinda cute, actually. Diable jam. Bien cute grill shot. One of the Kraken's tentacles was instantly charred. The Kraken glared at Sanji as he flew back. It launched a tentacle at him, but just as it was about to connect, Zoro sliced it to ribbons. Three-sword style secret technique, 6 paths crossroads. Except for a few hockey users, no one even saw it happen. A demon roaming the seas is nothing. Looking back, I'm grateful for the last 2 years. To surpass the guy who threw himself into that battle, I had to get stronger. So awesome, Frankie. I didn't even see his sword. Usopp, Yuta and Bonnie observed Rayleigh and Luffy, remaining relatively calm. TCH, just gotta stick your nose in everything. Sanji grumbled, accusing Zoro of meddling. What did you say, Arrowcook? These two had never gotten along, and still didn't. Watch it, or I'll cut you to pieces, you moron. Bring it on. With 2 more legs broken, can you still even pull the boat? Luffy frowned, looking at the Kraken's few remaining tentacles. Forget it, you're pulling the boat, Gomu Gomu no. Rifle. The giant fist knocked the Kraken unconscious. It flew away. Usopp. How strong has that guy become? Nami, the unconscious Kraken coughed up a small shark. A shark? Is that shark wearing clothes? Sanji. It's a pretty big shark. Zoro, the shark swam up to Luffy and the others and nodded. Is it thanking us for saving it? Zoro. What a polite shark. Sanji, after its thanks, the shark swam downstream, but Luffy noticed the current was pulling them the wrong way. He shouted to the others, hurry and get back on the ship. We're about to get swept away, but it was too late. Luffy cursed. Fortunately, he'd marked everyone on the ship with his Flying Thunder God technique when they boarded. He instantly teleported to Zoro's side, then to Sanji, and finally brought all 3 of them back to the ship. Well, that was a close one. Too bad about the octopus. Luffy shook his head. Before he could catch his breath, the strong current plunged the Sunny into the seabed. Riding the descending current, the Sunny finally reached the bottom of the sea. Are we at the bottom? Luffy looked around at the pitch blackness and immediately activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. These deep-sea fish are seriously ugly. Hey, Luffy, your eyes. Chopper stared, confused by Luffy's scarlet eyes. Don't worry, it's just another ability of mine. Think of it as a visual technique. Luffy had to explain. Luffy scanned the area and noticed that Caribou wasn't hiding in a barrel like he was supposed to, but tied up and looking obedient. Luffy smiled subtly, and a mark appeared between his eyebrows, invisible to everyone else. This guy might mess with things later, better to control him now. Moon God Slave Seal. The slave contract was silently sealed. Of course, it could only be used on sneaky cowards like Caribou. After using it, the slave would retain his independent consciousness, but develop an instinctual sense of worship for the user. Caribou suddenly felt that his plan to kill the Straw Hat Kid was incredibly stupid. He almost wanted to drown himself. From now on, I, Caribou, will follow Straw Hat Luffy and his crew. If they tell me to go east, I'll never go west. If they tell me to eat crap, I'll never drink pee. Caribou felt that this declaration was so profound. He was so moved he almost cried. Suddenly, the temperature on the seabed spiked. Luffy frowned and looked at Nami. She seemed to sense his gaze and nodded. Everyone, we're in an underwater volcanic area. Get out of here. Coup de burst. Wait. Frankie, don't use so much power. Luffy stopped Frankie. I'll go to the back to speed us up. Luffy ran to the stern of the ship, held his knife in one hand, and made a seal with the other. Wind style, great breakthrough. Enhanced with Gale Blade. Luffy's two powerful wind techniques propelled the Sunny into a safe zone. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, collapsing onto the deck. Well, we're saved. Yo-ho-ho-ho, Mr. Luffy is amazing. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of the ship. Chopper and the others were puzzled, but Luffy had already gone to the bow and was staring at the creature. His eyes flashed scarlet. Amaterasu. Black flames erupted in the water. The flame is burning in the water. What kind of power is that? The source of the light was finally revealed. Everyone gasped. It's an anglerfish. We almost fell for it. Luffy, how did you know? Hockey, visual powers. I have several ways to see through things. Like my Byakugan. Luffy's eyes turned white, veins popping out on his forehead, making him look a little intimidating. Luffy, I still think your red eyes are cooler, Yuta said shyly, knowing that Luffy's eyes could see everything. Luffy smiled and shifted his visual power to his fire eyes, golden eyes. Then, a huge man appeared behind the anglerfish. Everyone was terrified. A bald sea monster. Luffy said calmly, take your pet and scram. And tell Vanderdecken not to mess with me. I'm not in a good mood. Huh? Who are you? How dare you threaten Captain Decken? Before the sea monster could finish, a massive pirate ship came barreling up from behind. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The dead are gone. Period. Hey. Who do you think you are, warning Captain Deacon like that? Before the bald sea monster could finish, a massive pirate ship came barreling up from behind, its timbers groaning. A voice boomed, the dead tell no tales, and want for nothing. There's no place for them, not even where crows dare to fly. No need for gems in their ghostly hands, no regrets in the darkness. Find it. Find it. The sunken treasure is mine. I'll be the richest man alive. Captain Vanderdecken, the sight sent most of the crew into fits of terrified screaming. Ghost ship. Even Brook let out a yelp. Seriously, Brook? You're a skeleton. Besides, Luffy scratched his head, I think I've heard of Vanderdecken somewhere, but it's kinda fuzzy. Usopp grabbed Brook and shook him, remembering their first encounter. Back then, we really thought it was a ghost ship. That's because it is, in a way. Just look at the sails, Brook said, his voice serious. That's a famous ship, the Flying Dutchman. It's a ship that shouldn't exist. It happened hundreds of years ago, on a stormy night. The pirate captain went completely nuts, slaughtered his entire crew. Even cursed God himself. That captain's name was Vanderdecken. And the ship? The Flying Dutchman. He angered the heavens and was doomed to sail the seas forever, a tortured soul. That ship in front of us is cursed, commanded by Captain Vanderdecken. Usopp and Chopper immediately started bickering, prompting Luffy to smack them both upside the head. They both clutched their heads, whining, why'd you hit us, Luffy? Yeah, watch it, you jerk. Knock it off, you two. It's a ghost ship, sure, but there are still people on board. The original Vanderdecken's long gone. This is just one of his descendants, Luffy explained. Everyone visibly relaxed. Usopp patted his chest. Okay, good, not a real ghost ship. Wait a sec. What about that bald sea monster, Luffy? What do we do about him? Captain Vanderdecken. Poseidon seems to have captured the pirate ship. A crewman of Vanderdecken 9 reported. Below, Poseidon, the bald sea monster, waved excitedly. Stupid human, still a good ship. Probably loaded with treasure. Vanderdecken had no idea what was coming. Nami, standing nearby, was already taking off her coat again, the heat getting to her. Her finger still hooked between the two words written there. No one seemed to notice but Luffy, who activated his observation haki. He nearly had a nosebleed, those two words were so pronounced. Asterisk gotta stay focused, gotta stay focused. This treasure's gonna be mine sooner or later. But man, I wanna touch it. Sanji, on the other hand, had already fainted from a nosebleed the moment Nami started taking off her coat. Nami, however, had already sensed something strange happening beneath the waves. An underwater volcano was about to erupt. Kukulang, Poseidon, you don't get the treasure by eating the ship. Sink them. A voice boomed from the Flying Dutchman. But Captain Vanderdecken, I don't know how to deal with those black flames on Kukulang's head. He's not afraid of seawater at all. Poseidon didn't dare touch the fire. Just sink them first. We'll figure it out later. The sea god turned and swung his fist at the Sunny. Luffy instantly sprang into action, kicking the sea god's arm aside and forming a hand sign. Water style, great water prison jutsu, that the sea god was trapped inside a huge water prison, circling around in a daze, thinking about Vanderdecken day and night. Luffy didn't stop, leaping onto the Flying Dutchman. Vanderdecken's men immediately surrounded him, but Luffy unleashed his Conqueror's haki, clearing the deck in an instant. He headed straight for Vanderdecken. Damn you, human. What did you do to the sea god? Vanderdecken was sweating bullets. Come with me, Vanderdecken 9. Best case scenario. You're a gift for Neptune. Cold Moon Extreme. Luffy drew his swords, crossed them, and in a flash, the fight was over. He slapped seastone cuffs on the other pirate and tossed him next to Caribou. Luffy fought back the urge to gag. This guy reeked. He pulled out a semi-elliptical transparent cover and sealed Vanderdecken inside. Ha ha ha. Hody Jones won't let you get away with this. He needs me. Vanderdecken laughed, confident that his family name would protect him. Luffy heard him and wordlessly pulled out Vanderdecken's bounty poster. The laughter died in Vanderdecken's throat, replaced by cold sweat and trembling legs. Nami, meanwhile, exclaimed, "Oh no! The underwater volcano's about to erupt. Frankie, use the coup de burst." Susanoo. A colossal, winged red giant manifested around Luffy, holding the Sunny safely in its right hand, and blasted out of the volcanic zone. Awesome! You're the best, Luffy. That once they were clear, Nami immediately rushed over to Luffy. He felt like he was about to lose it, afraid that he'd grab her and drag her into his room any second. Nami, for her part, felt a slight tickle in her lower abdomen, and she knew. Her face flushed red, and she shyly looked away. Luffy whispered in Nami's ear, "My little thief cat princess, you're not afraid I'll devour you?" Humph. Try it. 3 billion berries, Nami retorted, trying for arrogance, but her voice was soft, only for Luffy to hear. All right then. I'll turn myself in right now. Don't be sad, my little thief cat wife. Nami turned and saw Luffy's knowing smirk. She stamped her foot, then rubbed against his arm twice before blushing and hiding behind Robin. Sanji, thank goodness, was still unconscious. Otherwise, he wouldn't just have a nosebleed, he'd be spitting blood. Nami's first thought was, embarrassment. She wondered how Hancock, Bonnie, and Yuta could handle this. Luffy, annoyed with Nami, pulled Yuta into his room. Bonnie, standing nearby, decided to stay out and enjoy the view. Yuta was eager to help Luffy blow off some steam in her own way, and she wanted to see it too. In the end, Luffy was left alone and miserable. Nami giggled, seeing the look of resentment in Luffy's eyes. He deserved it for teasing her. While Nami and Luffy were playing their little game, they descended to a depth of 10,000 meters. Light filtered through the water, a sight that amazed everyone. Fishman Island appeared before them, but before they could properly marvel at it, a group of uninvited guests approached. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before anyone could react, another group of uninvited guests showed up, Murlocs. The mermaids in the lead sneered, "So, it's you guys?" "Yeah, what about it?" "I figured the pirates who shattered Aaron's dreams wouldn't be pushovers. Like Fisher Tiger." 3 fishmen materialized, looking just like they did before, Hammond, Blue Zao, and Kashikaba. "Heh heh heh. I'm really at a loss what to do with you. So tell me, are you enemies or friends? I'll give you a choice. Wanna join our new fishman pirates? Or refuse? If you refuse, you'll sink to the bottom." Luffy's eyes turned cold. "Susanu. I'm giving you 3 seconds to get out of here if you don't want to die." To avoid a pointless fight, Luffy instantly bulked up into Gear 3rd, looming over them. Gulp. Hammond stared up at the giant, swallowing hard. "He's definitely worth 2 billion. He changed his tune. Looks like you refuse. Then you're the sworn enemies of our new fishman pirates. You'll sink down here with us." Nami was about to have Frankie use a coup de burst to propel them upwards, but Luffy stopped her. "Nami, we're not trespassing this time. He doesn't want to be wanted by the whole island because of Madame Shirley's prediction about destroying Fishman Island. Luffy, don't be ridiculous. We're 10,000 meters under the sea. There's no way to fight." Nami shouted up at Luffy. "Just because you can't fight doesn't mean I can't. Watch this." Luffy unleashed his Conqueror's Haki. Several sea beasts started sweating bullets, staring at Luffy in terror. Luffy glared down at them. "Get lost." The 5 sea beasts turned tail and ran, the 3 fishmen clinging on for dear life. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Nami turned to Luffy. "Luffy, let's just use the coup de burst and blast our way in." "No. Look at that bubble, it's double-layered. And there's obviously seawater inside. We'd get swept away." Luffy explained. Nami and the others finally saw what he meant and reluctantly gave up the idea. They scanned their surroundings. "But Luffy, we don't know where the entrance is." Luffy grinned. "I do." He led them straight to the entrance of Fishman Island, where the guards spotted the Straw Hat Pirates flag and signaled for them to wait. One of them hurried off to get the king. A few minutes later, a huge merman, who looked every bit the friendly uncle, arrived riding a shark, followed by 3 assorted royal siblings, Shark Star, Rollover Star, and Royal Star. "Welcome to Fishman Island, Straw Hat Pirates. I'm Neptune, the king. I've been expecting you." Neptune greeted them. "Hey, Neptune, heard a lot about you. But what do you mean you've been expecting me?" Luffy asked, a little confused. "Who'd believe you've been waiting here? I just saw the guard go get you." Still, Luffy didn't call him on it. Neptune gave an awkward smile, realizing how that sounded. "I've heard of a big-time pirate like yourself. Jinbe said he's waiting for you in Sea Forest and to avoid any trouble with Hody Jones." "Thanks. Then let's head to Sea Forest first," Luffy replied. "Wait, Mr. Luffy. Before that, please come to Ryugu Palace for a banquet. You saved my daughter's pet, and to express our gratitude, please accept." Neptune quickly interjected. "A mermaid princess. Sanji's eyes turned into hearts. His face was a caricature of lovesickness, and a nosebleed almost erupted. Neptune eyed Sanji and breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness my daughter's safe in the hardshell tower. This guy looks like a pervert, though at least he's better than Vanderdecken, star. Then let's go. Luffy agreed easily. Princess Shirahoshi, here I come. My future wife, hee. Luffy let his imagination run wild, drool forming at the corner of his mouth. Oops, I was trying so hard to look cool. Luffy glanced around and, seeing that no one had noticed his momentary lapse, sighed in relief. Phew, dodged a bullet. My image is safe. Little did he know that Yuta had seen his dorky expression. They arrived at Ryugu Palace, and everyone was amazed by its architecture. Even after they were inside, they still hadn't caught a glimpse of the elusive Princess Ryugu. Luffy, a little disappointed, excused himself to use the restroom. Of course, Luffy wasn't really going to the toilet. He vanished from sight, using a technique to conceal himself. Time to use that new power. Luffy activated the ability, making him invisible but still allowing him to use his observation haki. He searched for quite a while before finally locating the hardshell tower and quietly slipped inside. It was dark, but Luffy's enhanced vision allowed him to see everything clearly. Shirahoshi's so huge, she has to be somewhere. That if you're wondering what Luffy planned to do, the answer is simple, bounce. He climbed onto Shirahoshi's arm and jumped up and down. This startled Shirahoshi. Who's there? A soft, almost syrupy voice called out, sending shivers down Luffy's spine. He tried not to get too caught up in it. Shirahoshi turned on the light. Who are you? Are you here to kill me too? I'm not afraid of you. I'm Neptune's daughter. But the bravado didn't last long, and Shirahoshi started to cry. This alarmed the right minister, who was just outside the door. Princess. Don't cry. I just got lost. I was looking for something to eat. Luffy decided to stick to the truth for once. Hearing this, Shirahoshi quickly hid Luffy behind her back, preventing the right minister from seeing him. What's wrong, princess? The right minister asked. It's nothing. I just had a nightmare. Shirahoshi's sweet, almost pleading voice, struck Luffy right in the heart. I'm in love. Shirahoshi is mine, star. The right minister sighed in relief and left the room, and Shirahoshi released Luffy. Luffy saw the food in front of him and realized he was hungry. He started to chow down. While he was eating, Shirahoshi kept poking him with her finger. Hey, Shirahoshi, is there anywhere you'd like to go? I could take you. Luffy thought about Vanderdecken and realized he could bring her to the sea forest. Yes, but I can't get out. I've been here for 10 years. A look of longing appeared in Shirahoshi's eyes. 10 years? I'd be bored to death. Can you tell me why? Luffy asked. Because of Vanderdecken. Shirahoshi told Luffy her entire story. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were both really happy. Just then, Mtlnovel came running in, recognized Luffy as the guy who'd saved him, and immediately told Shirahoshi all about it. So you saved Mtlnovel. Thank you so much. Is your name Luffy? Shirahoshi asked, her eyes wide with admiration. Forget the formalities, just call me Luffy. Hey, Shirahoshi, you really want to go outside, don't you? How about I take you for a walk? Luffy looked at the giant mermaid, realizing she was much older than he was. It's because of Vanderdecken. I turned him down, and he's been after me ever since, Shirahoshi explained, telling Luffy everything, Vanderdecken's constant harassment and how she'd been stuck in that hardshell tower for 10 years. For some reason, looking at Luffy, she just didn't get a bad vibe from him. 10 years stuck inside. That must be lonely. Luffy couldn't imagine it. 10 years of loneliness, just with a shark for company. Well, don't worry. I'll protect you. Let's go. Luffy talked to Shirahoshi as he ate. She seemed so happy just to have someone to talk to, but she clearly longed to go outside. Shirahoshi was full of questions. Luffy, in his current persona, was more than ready to answer. "Man, you're a real scaredy cat, Shirahoshi," Luffy said with a grin. "Why do you call me scaredy cat, Luffy?" Shirahoshi asked, puzzled. "No reason. You just seem a little timid, so it fits." "Anyway," Luffy said, unable to reveal that he knew about her hidden secret. Hey, scaredy cat, let's go." Shirahoshi and Mtlnovel looked worried, but Luffy adjusted his straw hat and assured them, "Don't worry, no more weapons are flying our way. First, let's go see your dad. I've got a gift for him." Shirahoshi and Mtlnovel were surprised, and judging by Luffy's expression, he didn't seem to be lying. They both nodded, though Shirahoshi was still anxious, "But the guards outside won't let us pass. They'll be out cold. And don't worry, I won't lay a hand on them," Luffy declared, planning to use his conqueror's haki. Just as Shirahoshi was about to ask how he'd do it, all the guards suddenly fainted. "Luffy, you're amazing!" she exclaimed. Luffy and his two companions walked straight to Ryugu Palace without any problems, only to find some of his crew already fighting Neptune's army. Huh? What's going on here? Luffy wondered. Neptune was shocked to see his daughter outside. "Shirahoshi. What are you doing out here?" "Luffy, according to Madame Shirley's prediction, you might destroy Fishman Island in the future. Please, surrender." "Father." "Luffy." Shirahoshi looked at them both, worried they'd start fighting. Then, Neptune, was Madame Shirley's prediction about the war 2 years ago accurate? Luffy asked with a confident smirk. Well. Neptune remembered that Madame Shirley had predicted Ace and Whitebeard would die, but Ace had been rescued and only Whitebeard had died. "But Luffy, you're still wrong to abduct my daughter. Do you know how dangerous it is out there?" Neptune said, throwing his hands up in exasperation, as if his daughter had been forced by a pig. "About that," Luffy started, "I was actually going to take Shirahoshi to the sea forest. As for Vanderdeck Ken, we ran into him on the way here." "What? You took my daughter out with you? That's outrageous." Neptune was so upset that if he thought he could win, he would have punched Luffy on the spot. "Seriously, believing in that bogus prophecy? You're way too superstitious, Neptune. But hey, I brought you a gift." In a flash, Luffy zipped back to the Sunny and returned with Vanderdeck Ken, trapped by seastone cuffs. It only took him 3 seconds. Neptune blinked. No, he wasn't seeing things. Luffy had vanished for a moment. When he opened his eyes again, he saw the man he'd been searching for 10 years. Vanderdeck Ken. Vanderdeck Ken turned towards Neptune and Shirahoshi, his eyes immediately filled with a creepy lust when he saw the princess. "Shirahoshi, have you thought about marrying me? I'd be so happy." The next second, Luffy kicked him in the face and turned back to Neptune. "Shirahoshi's been stuck in that hard-shell tower for 10 years. I'm taking her out for a walk today. You can't stop me, Neptune. And that creep? Consider him my gift to you. Luffy, are you sure you won't destroy Fishman Island?" Neptune still looked worried. Mrs. Shirley's predictions were usually pretty spot on, after all. "I'm actually thinking of transplanting Fishman Island to the surface. After all, I have a lot of respect for Princess Otoheim," Luffy replied with a mischievous grin. "Otoheim? Mother? Don't worry, I won't destroy Fishman Island. To be honest, I'm tempted to take you all up there right now, but some people's minds won't change that easily. When I get to Raftel, the world will change big time. Neptune, I am the joy boy of this generation." As Luffy spoke, his image flickered, turning white-haired and white-clothed. Neptune's eyes widened in shock. "Is that so?" "That is it. But this is the agreement between me and Shirahoshi. I have nothing to do with the dead, even if he is my predecessor. I will not use Shirahoshi as an ancient weapon. To me, he will always be the most beautiful mermaid princess. Luffy gradually returned to his original appearance. At Neptune's command, the soldiers stopped encircling them. Though frankly, they'd been getting their butts kicked by the Straw Hats anyway. The Straw Hat crew also saw the giant Shirahoshi, and Sanji was instantly smitten. Mermaid Princess, Shirahoshi smiled sweetly. You're all Luffy's friends, you're amazing. Alright, Neptune, I'll take Shirahoshi to the sea forest now, Luffy said, leaving with Shirahoshi and a few crew members. Luffy instructed some of his crew to find Papago, Kami, and Hachi. Frankie headed off to find the coding master, Dan. And Robin went off to read the historical text. Neptune watched Luffy walk away, thinking that if only Luffy were a fishman or a merman, he'd be the perfect son-in-law. Little did he know, his daughter was already head over heels. Not long after Luffy and Shirahoshi left Ryugu Palace, the place was thrown into chaos. Hody Jones and his crew were moving in to take over. But Neptune wasn't about to let that happen and led his own soldiers to fight back. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were both panicking, a total mess, right after Luffy, Shirahoshi, and the others left Ryugu Palace. Hody Jones launched his attack, aiming to take over. But Neptune wasn't about to let that happen and fought back. Hody, spotting Vanderdecken, freed him, and Vanderdecken immediately made a beeline for Shirahoshi. But he barely got 6 feet before his face contorted in pain, and he crashed to the ground. Damn Straw Hat, he knew. Hody, you're no match for him. He's too dangerous. Neptune and Hody both heard him, but Hody clearly didn't care. Neptune, on the other hand, was pleased. He was starting to warm up to Luffy as a son-in-law. Even if he didn't want to let his daughter go, he was Joy Boy after all. Luffy took Shirahoshi straight to the streets of Fishman Island. The residents were astonished to see the princess after so long. Spotting Luffy, they glared daggers at him, especially with the fighting going on back at Ryugu Palace. Neptune hadn't given the order to arrest Luffy yet. The residents were furious, hurling insults at Luffy, but he took it in stride. Shirahoshi couldn't bear it. She burst into tears. Please, everyone, stop yelling at Lord Luffy. He's not a bad person. That Straw Hat kid even made the princess cry. Unforgivable. Luffy was starting to get annoyed. Without a word, he unleashed his conqueror's haki, and the surrounding residents fainted. Finally, peace and quiet. He took Shirahoshi directly to the sea forest. Hody Jones' men began defacing Princess Otoheim's photo, but Luffy brushed that off. His priority was letting Shirahoshi pay her respects to her mother. As for Neptune, tough luck, he'd have to deal with the chaos for a bit. Soon, Luffy, Shirahoshi, and the others arrived at the sea forest. Sanji woke up, his nosebleed instantly stopping. He was frozen, happy beyond words. This place is beautiful. Luffy sat between Shirahoshi's two halves, looking up at her. She didn't resist at all, crying and hugging Luffy, rubbing her face against him. It's so beautiful. I've always wanted to come here. Thank you, Luffy. Chopper looked concerned at Hachi, who had been rescued, and Sanji, still petrified. This is a safe place to treat them. Thump, thump, thump. Footsteps approached. Luffy turned to see a big, blue fishman approaching. Luffy. Oh, Jinbei. You ignored me. Luffy was surprised to see Jinbei. To be honest, he was one of Luffy's favorite fishmen besides Shirahoshi, and the third was his second sister-in-law. Of course, Luffy wouldn't break up a couple. Yeah, you really did ignore me. I've missed you. You've gotten stronger. I thought I was seeing things. Jinbei walked up to Luffy and the others. King Neptune told me you were waiting for me here. I grabbed a bite, and Shirahoshi wanted to come here, so I brought her. Boss Jinbei. Long time no see. Shirahoshi said sweetly. Looks like His Majesty sent you the message. Princess Shirahoshi is with us too. Long time no see. Jinbei paused, blinking in shock. Wait. Princess Shirahoshi. How are you here, Luffy? Hey, Frankie, help me move Hachi and Sanji. Come give me a hand. Chopper was too small to move a fishman and a person by himself, so he quickly called out to Frankie, who had arrived earlier. Whoa! Isn't that the octopus jerk? Frankie looked at Hachi, covered in bandages, looking confused. What happened to you? Jinbei was still panicking. Hachi. What happened to you? More importantly, what are you doing on Fishman Island? Weren't you captured with Arlong? Jinbei was still in the dark about what had happened 2 years ago. Boss Jinbei. What are you doing here? Hachi was also confused to see Jinbei. Frankie, now for petrified Sanji. Chopper called out. No need, I got it. Sanji stood up, jumped off Megalo's back, striking what he thought was a handsome pose. Mermaid Princess, I'm just an incompetent artist in your presence. My art tools can't even begin to capture your beauty. Shirahoshi was a little scared of Sanji in this state. Luffy patted her head, telling her not to worry. Don't worry, Shirahoshi, this is just his normal reaction. That's just how he acts around women. Sanji's back. He's back to being the Sanji we know. Chopper cried, feeling like a proud father, and Sanji was still going on about his canvas not being able to contain her beauty. Then Frankie introduced Mr. Dan. But Princess Shirahoshi, I know your purpose, but Vanderdecken is still out there. Luffy, why did you bring the princess out here? Jinbei looked at Luffy, who was still laughing. It's okay, I'll protect Shirahoshi, Luffy said, teasing Jinbei. Okay. Shirahoshi's answer caught Jinbei completely off guard. To be honest, Shirahoshi was truly relieved. About Vanderdecken 9, we ran into him on the way here. Neptune's probably got him locked up by now. After all, I brought him as a gift for the king, Luffy said, stopping his teasing and telling him the truth. Is that so? That's a relief. I didn't expect Vanderdecken, who's been missing for so long, to fall into your hands. It's fate, I guess. Jinbei sighed. The group headed to Princess Otoheim's tomb, waiting for Shirahoshi to finish paying her respects. She stayed there for a long time, lost in memories of her mother. No one disturbed her. Jinbei also sighed. Just then, Nami and the others arrived, having picked up Kami and Papagu. Nami, Kami, Papagu. Sister Nami, look, it's brother Luffy. And that's Boss Jinbei standing next to him. Oh, and Princess Shirahoshi too. I'm so surprised. Kami was stunned to see Shirahoshi, and then Jinbei. Nami and Jinbei stared at each other, and finally Jinbei spoke. Luffy, I'm sorry, I don't want to cause you any trouble, so I had someone bring a message for you. But before that, please allow me to apologize for something. Want to see the extra? 8 heads, 3 mouths, 6 legs, 7 people, 5 pairs of hands, 9 noses, 0 red envelopes, 8 phones, 5 fingers. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nami and Jinbei exchanged glances before Jinbei finally spoke. Luffy, I'm sorry for having to send a message through someone else. I didn't want to cause you any trouble. But first, I need to ask you something. Let me apologize in advance. He continued, 2 years ago, when I first met you, Luffy, things were even worse. I want to express my sincere gratitude for stopping Arlong and his gang's brutality in the East Blue. Jinbei steeled himself and said, that was you. Thank you. Thank you again. At the same time, please accept my apology. I'm the one who sent Arlong to the East Blue 11 years ago. Nami visibly recoiled at the memory of Arlong's terror. Luffy, noticing this, instinctively stepped behind her, offering her a comforting presence. Ladies. Tea time. Sanji, in his usual goofy manner, served the 3 women. Seeing Nami leaning on Luffy, he was thunderstruck. Luffy! What's with you and Nami? Stay away from my Nami, you jerk. I'll kick your butt. Arigato, just leave it there, Sanji. And Luffy's fine, we're talking business. Keep it in your pants. Nami's words sent Sanji on a roller coaster of happiness and despair. I love Ms. Nami when she's so decisive. Ms. Nami, feel free to lean on my chest anytime. Luffy, you lucky dog. Sanji desperately wanted to kick Luffy, but he knew he didn't stand a chance. So, Jinbei, what's the story? You said you sent Arlong to the East Blue, Nami said, her face unreadable. Clearly, if Jinbei didn't have a good explanation, he was in trouble. I've heard the rumors, Sanji chimed in, lighting a cigarette. When Luffy and I first heard of Jinbei, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, that Joseph guy mentioned it. Sanji recalled Joseph's words, as a trade for joining the warlords, Jinbei unleashed a dangerous guy into the East Blue. Sanji glanced at Luffy, guessing he'd probably forgotten. When I read in the newspaper 2 years ago that you and Jinbei were together, a red flag went up. I always thought Jinbei was the mastermind behind Arlong and his crew. Alright, Jinbei, let's hear your excuses. And choose your words carefully. Because, just so you know, the hometown of this beautiful navigator, Miss Nami, is the island that Arlong ruled. Nami instinctively huddled a little closer to Luffy, finding comfort in his presence. Jinbei's eyes narrowed. Sanji continued, she's one of the people who suffered under him. If you try to weasel your way out of this, I won't forgive you. Ah, Jinbei. Hachi struggled to sit up. It's true. Apologies won't undo the harm we caused this girl. Nami was clearly reliving her childhood trauma, trembling in Luffy's arms. Luffy patted her back reassuringly. Just say what you need to say. We're all here. You're with our crew. Nami's tense face almost cracked a smile at Luffy's cheesy line, but she remained lost in her memories. Jinbei noticed the fear in Nami's eyes. It seems you've been through a lot. None of your business, Nami retorted, yeah, whatever. I still don't feel sorry for Arlong, but before I arrived at the Sabaody archipelago 2 years ago, I had no idea that powerful fishmen were also being persecuted by humans. Kemi was caught by human traffickers, and when we went to track them down, I could hardly believe my eyes. The shampoo paradise that appeared before me looked exactly like Arlong Park. We've been wanting to say this for a long time, and not just to earn your forgiveness, Nami. Hachi looked up at Nami, kneeling. Arlong hated humans, hated them. We did awful things. But when we were kids, we dreamed of a world where humans and fishmen could live together. That's true for me and everyone. But we hurt a lot of people. Before Hachi could finish, the wounds on his body started throbbing. Long ago, mermaids and fishmen were treated like regular fish, but 200 years ago, the Ryugu kingdom became a world power. It joined the world government, forming a friendly alliance with humans. The king was even invited to attend the revelry. Luffy shivered at the mention of the world government, though he didn't know why. Nami noticed, but seeing that Luffy's expression was normal, she brushed it off. But humans always hated fishmen. Den, who was working on coding the Sunny, added, the worst discrimination, as far as I remember, started with the Great Pirate Era. The terror brought by the human pirates rioting all over the seas. I'll never forget it. Fishman Island was constantly being invaded by humans. The one who saved us from the brink of destruction was Whitebeard, Jinbei interjected, seizing his chance to finally speak again. Whitebeard declared Fishman Island to be under his protection, and the island returned to peace. But this didn't change the fact that humans still hated fishmen. I believe you saw the reality for yourselves in the Sabaody archipelago. And it's a weird thing that with having power comes fear. Although the government has the right to decide whether fishmen and humans can get along, the closer you get to it, the more you feel how deep-rooted the system of differences is. The relationship between fishmen and humans has not changed. At this time, there were two people on Fishman Island who stood up to change the corrupt history of Fishman Island. One was Princess Otoheim. Shirahoshi gasped at the mention of her mother's name. She tirelessly urged the islanders to strive for peaceful coexistence with humans. She is the mother of Princess Shirahoshi, and the other person is the hero who liberated the slaves, Fisher Tiger. Fisher Tiger. Hancock mentioned him to me. He was an amazing person, Luffy mused, thinking about Tiger's actions. Because of his constant desire to break with humans, he violated the world taboo. He single-handedly attacked the holy land of Mariehua and freed the slaves. Jinbei's voice trailed off, everyone felt a sudden chill. Luffy was surprised to feel that it was his special ability. He then spoke to everyone. I have heard about Fisher Tiger's affairs, so I am not very interested, I will go and take a look. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The wind howled, everyone felt a cold gust, and Luffy froze. That wind ability was his. He turned to the crew. I've heard about Fisher Tiger. Not that interested. I'm gonna go take a look. Nobody noticed Luffy acting strange. Following the wind, he quickly found the mastermind. Surprised you came to see me personally, but thanks for saving me. Luffy's tone was even. But the other person could detect a hint of resentment. Sorry. Never thought we'd meet like this. If it weren't for those books I gave little Ivan, I might have had to wait a while to see you, Dad. Ah, Luffy. I hope you can understand. The world government's too corrupt. Our revolutionary army's fighting them every way we can. The person on the other side of Luffy was his father, Monkey D. Dragon. 2 questions, 1 request. Luffy held up 3 fingers. First, why meet me on Fishman Island? Second, who's my mom? And I want to meet the Revolutionary Army's second-in-command. Dragon paused. I can only answer 1 question right now. Sabo's on a mission. You can't see him yet. Really? Is my mom? Luffy trailed off. No, you will meet her. As for the first question, once you enter the new world, the route's unpredictable. Fishman Island is the only guaranteed stop. Dragon explained. Okay, I get it, Dad. You didn't just come to say hi. Luffy already knew why Dragon was here. Is what Morgan's reported true? Dragon asked seriously. He's still my son, he thought. The world government watching him wouldn't be a huge deal. Yep. Totally true. I told him everything, including about him. Luffy laid it all out for Dragon. Long's expression remained grave. Monkey D. Luffy, as leader of the Revolutionary Army, I formally invite you to join us. I hope you will. Your books could change the world. I didn't write that book. A bunch of great people did. But the Revolutionary Army thing, can I just be a figurehead? I still want to be a pirate. Luffy didn't refuse, but inquired. Of course. To protect your identity, you can pick a code name. Dragon nodded. Let's go with Star. Luffy thought of his star fruit. Yeah, Star. With the Navy's brains, nobody's gonna figure that one out. After chatting for a while, Luffy and Dragon parted ways. As he left, Dragon looked at Luffy apologetically. Sorry, Luffy. I know I haven't been much of a father, but for the good of the world, I have to do this. You can hate me, but your mother wants to see you really badly. Dad, Boa Hancock from Amazon Lily, Bonnie and Yuta on my ship, and Princess Vivi from Alabasta are all your daughters-in-law, and Nami will be too soon. Luffy said, grinning. Dragon's mouth twitched when he heard about Bonnie. Do you know how old Bonnie is? How am I supposed to face Kuma after that? Kuma, wherever he was, JSKJK *Eldenja. Of course, Dragon didn't say that to Luffy's face, because Luffy's fist was already aimed at his head. I'll test your strength, Dad. Let's try Grandpa's move, Fist of Love. And did Grandpa give you that scar with his sandal? That with a wave of his hand, Luffy disappeared in a gust of wind. Landing near the Sunny, Dragon looked back at Luffy, shuddering. That old man really taught him everything. My grandson's got a rough road ahead, but why does he seem so happy? That Dragon touched the scar on his face. That brat. Teasing his father already. But how did he meet Sabo? I thought Sabo was first at Goa Kingdom. A bold idea took root in Long's mind. Could it be that Luffy and Sabo knew each other when they were young? This must be the case. Contact Sabo quickly. Unbeknownst to anyone, two major players had just altered the Revolutionary Army's ranking on Fishman Island. Because of the 2 books Luffy gave him, Luffy's reputation within the Revolutionary Army was second only to Sabo's. Overnight, he became their number 3. Luffy rejoined his crew. Jinbe and the others had finished talking, and Shirahoshi was crying, watching Ryugu, Neptune and the others being captured by Hody Jones on the big screen. Okay, Shirahoshi. I'll save them. Don't cry. You're too pretty to cry. You gotta be strong, or the guy you like won't like you back. Luffy, sounding like a human trafficker, had Shirahoshi hooked. If Shirahoshi wanted to get out, it may have transformed. I don't know how many times the dumpling's skin has been turned over by Luffy. Unfortunately, Shirahoshi may not have thought about coming out at all. Shirahoshi stopped crying when she heard Luffy's last words, though she was still sniffling. Okay. I'll be strong to please Luffy-sama. Sanji suddenly felt his life was pointless. Ever since Luffy finished his training, he'd been hitting on women everywhere. Even Nami seemed to be falling for him. Luffy. I'm warning you again, stay away from the beautiful women. Nami quietly pinched Luffy but said nothing. After all, she'd followed Luffy all the way from the East Blue, and even Yuta was a decade away. She believed she could earn a top 3 spot with her qualifications. She didn't want to be first, because as the saying goes, the first one often has the most responsibilities. What Nami didn't know was that Luffy didn't intend to declare a mistress, because he didn't need one. Nami was wondering when Luffy would officially confess to her, but a fishman who looked suspiciously like Arlong interrupted her thoughts. Nami pursed her lips, grabbed Luffy's arm, and whined, Luffy, this fishman's annoying. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were so happy together, but they had to be patient. Nami was wondering when Luffy would finally make things official between them, but her thoughts were interrupted by a fishman who looked suspiciously like Arlong popping up on the Den Den Mushi screen. Nami pouted, grabbing Luffy's arm and whining playfully, Luffy, this fishman is such a pain. Luffy was thrilled by her touch. But now wasn't the time for that. He glared at the arrogant fish face on the screen. This guy had tied up his future father-in-law. No way. The old man must have already given him the thumbs up to date Shirahoshi before this happened. Luffy glanced at Jinbe and noticed his eyes were a little watery. Hey. Jinbe, were you crying? Looks like Nami hasn't forgiven you completely. I wasn't crying. Don't talk nonsense. Why would I cry? Luffy noticed that Nami and the other wives seemed to be getting much closer to Shirahoshi. Luffy frowned and looked at the big screen in the sky. Xiaoba had laid out Hody's whole plan, but Luffy wasn't worried. Fighting Hody sounded like fun. Although, he was itching for a rematch with Doflamingo. Attention, residents of Fishman Street. This is Hody Jones, leader of the new Fishman Pirates. I have an announcement for the citizens of Ryugu Kingdom on Fishman Island. This country will be destroyed, once and for all, and then reborn. I will be your new king. Hody's words didn't sit well with the residents of Fishman Island. What's he babbling about? Who does he think he is? What a joke. Where's this guy broadcasting from? Hody continued, under my rule, the new Fishman Island will have absolute laws. Any fishmen who want to cozy up to humans will be banished from this country. We, as strong fishmen, have no need to coddle those weak and arrogant humans. The new residents of Fishman Street will be moving here soon. They're comrades who hate humans as much as you do and are eager for change on this island. You've all seen it. Princess Otoheim's dream of establishing a bridge with humans. A pipe dream that will never come true. Don't hide it any longer. Look at that guy, he's trying to kill your father again. Luffy, what are you talking about? Jinbei was puzzled. In exchange for Hody's more extreme behavior. I'm sorry, mother, I may not do what you said. The murderer who killed my mother was Hody Jones. This is what Mekolo told me later. Before my mother left, I told me not to hate whoever the murderer was. Shirahoshi wiped her tears. Turning her head to look at Luffy's smiling face, she kissed him gently. Thank you, Luffy, and please save my father. Yeah. Of course. This must be hard for you, princess. No, Jinbei. I'm just following my mother's wishes. Shirahoshi was even starting to crack jokes. Sanji, on the other hand, was completely dejected. He was beginning to wonder if joining Luffy's crew had been a mistake. Ever since that guy came back from training, he'd become more ridiculously handsome, and now all the beautiful women were flocking to him. Luffy, I hate you. Luffy, I'm drawing a circle to curse you. Luffy, aw. Luffy, die. The former great knight Neptune is past his prime. Handing the throne to that old man would mean the end of Fishman Island's future. Attention, all residents of Fishman Island. It's time to say goodbye to the old Ryugu kingdom. In 3 hours, I will publicly execute that incompetent king in Gironcourt Plaza. The current era of pirates was sparked by the execution of Gold Roger, the so-called pirate king. That event accelerated the persecution of fishmen by humans. Therefore, the execution of Neptune will usher in the era of great fishmen who rule over humans. You should all understand that. This is Ryugu Castle. I found some interesting things. 10 years ago, Princess Otoheim risked her life to get a letter from the world nobles. Once it's torn, it can't be put back together. And this big box is full of. Hody walked over to a box overflowing with papers. More than half of this country's signatures. It boggles the mind. So many idiots willing to work hand in hand with humans. Anyone who signed these is rebelling against my new kingdom. In other words, this is a list of traitors. There's no need to step on the princess's portrait. That was just a cheap trick. This signature is proof of whether you're enemies or friends, undeniable proof. I'll punish them one by one. First up, Toroka of Coral Hill. Hody rattled off several names. Stop it. I won't let you hurt my people. Neptune's expression was hidden beneath his massive beard. Whatever. You don't have much time left anyway. Hody completely ignored Neptune. Finally, the Straw Hat Pirates. I know you're watching this broadcast from somewhere on the island. I gave you the chance to snuff out the anger of the fishmen, Arlong's ambitious humans, but you refused. You will be the first step in my conquest of the humans. Humans, those inferior animals, will drown in the deep sea. Straw Hat Luffy, with a bounty of 2 billion berries, your heads will serve as a warning to all the land dwellers. The best warning. Alright, let's begin the cleansing of the old Ryugu kingdom. Cut ties with the fragile past and seize the tough future. In 3 hours, this country will be reborn. A self-respecting Fishman Island. Then the screen went black. Okay, Jinbei, let's figure out how to save the king. I don't want to be a hero. Luffy perched himself on Shirahoshi's shoulder. You have to be a hero, whether you want to or not, if you want to be Shirahoshi's husband. Husband. Why? Boss Jinbei. Lord Luffy and I aren't at that point yet. Shirahoshi covered her face, blushing furiously. Anyway, let's talk strategy first, Nami interrupted, annoyed. Damn it, I miss Luffy too. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, so they were totally stoked, right? Pretty soon, everyone had a plan cooked up. Just like in the book, Jinbei and Shirahoshi were the first to fall for the trap, and they showed up right when Shirahoshi yelled for Luffy's help. This time, Luffy and Jinbei skipped the drama and went straight to the plan. Everyone, including Papagu, made their way to the Sunny. At first, Luffy, Jinbei, and Xiaoba were all against Shirahoshi going, but she insisted she wanted to expose Hody for killing her mom. Plus, she was tired of being just a pretty face. They had to give in. Before long, the square was swarming with fishmen and mermaids. In the middle, Neptune and his 3 sons were tied up, along with Shirahoshi, Jinbei, and Mtlnovel, who'd all walked into the trap. Luffy didn't hop into Mtlnovel's mouth this time, though. He just marked Shirahoshi with his Flying Thunder God technique. All she had to do was call him, and he'd teleport right over. Hody, leave Shirahoshi alone. Neptune yelled, worried sick for her. Listen up, everyone. I need to tell you something. Shirahoshi said, trembling but determined. The truth is, Hody Jones killed my mother 10 years ago, not a human. Mtlnovel told me later. But my mom said, no matter who the killer was, we shouldn't hold a grudge. But someone woke me up recently. He told me that being too tolerant just encourages worse behavior. I've learned to be strong from him. Please, everyone, don't worry about us. What, Shirahoshi? You? Neptune's eyes widened. He probably knew who Shirahoshi was talking about, but where had he gone? Haha, so what if they know? The Neptune royal family is history. I'm taking over Fishman Island. Shirahoshi, you shouldn't even exist. And Jinbei, catching you is a bonus. Hody's hair was already turning gray. To catch 2 birds with 1 stone. Amazing. You really showed up, huh, Jinbei? I admired you back when you were a pirate. What's wrong, Hody? You're not acting yourself, Jinbei said coldly. The mermaids and fishmen watching were stunned. It's Boss Jinbei. He must have left the island after quitting the 7 warlords. Perfect, everyone's here. This is easier than I thought. Now all that's left is the Straw Hat Pirates. Who knows what they're up to? Probably running around Fishman Island like chickens with their heads cut off. Even if they show up, we're ready. As soon as Hody said that, human slaves and captured fishmen shuffled out of the shadows. We've got 30,000 human slaves we snatched up this month and 70,000 fishmen who can handle weapons. We moved them from the lockdown Fishman district, 100,000 criminals in total. There are some women and kids who can't fight outside the square, but we'll clean them up later when things calm down. And we'll keep adding to the human slave count. So, 100,000 people to start. Go loot the homes of those human scum. You either fight or die. Your call. Making a scene like this in public? You're all just a bunch of punks. A cold voice cut through the air. Arlong's sister, Madame Shirley, puffed on her pipe, staring at Hody. Don't get too cocky, Hody Jones. Hody turned. Long time no see. What do you want? I have a message for you, hotshot. My prediction says someone's going to destroy Fishman Island. It'll be destroyed. Is that me in your vision? Hody assumed she meant him. Nope. It's Straw Hat Luffy who's going to destroy this island. What he'll do, I don't know. What are you trying to say? It's not you. That's all I know. The person who controls Fishman Island's fate isn't you, Hody, Madame Shirley said, looking down at him. Humph. Your predictions were wrong 2 years ago. Strike. He punched Madame Shirley, sending her flying. How pathetic. Who are you mad at, Shirley? Are you just venting? I'm not like your brother. When I was a kid, your brother Arlong was the hero of all Fishman Street. But we've gotten stronger. Now, Arlong's name is just a label for us to rally behind. We don't need it anymore. We can destroy this country from the ground up. And if we revived him, he'd be the only one. I've got that kind of power now. Then Hody turned to Neptune. Neptune, prepare to die. No. Luffy. Please save my father. Shirahoshi cried out as the blade got closer to Neptune. In a flash, Luffy appeared in front of Shirahoshi. Before anyone could blink, he'd set Neptune and the three princes down, then he punched Hody Jones into the wall. Of course, Luffy held back. Otherwise, what was the fun? He went easy on him, but who knew if Hody would ever crawl out of that wall? Everyone was shocked to see Straw Hat Luffy show up. Shark Star saw Jinbei talking to Luffy and realized it was all part of their plan. Luffy. Shirahoshi was so scared earlier. She wanted to hug Luffy and never let go, but now wasn't the time. Where did he come from? The new fisherman pirates were clueless about Luffy's power. You finally showed up. We couldn't do anything until now. Go, everyone. Jinbei called out to the air. Huh? What's going on? Who's he talking to? The fisherman pirates leaders were totally confused. What was happening? We got this. We've been working on this for ages. Let Luffy do his thing. Miracles can happen. Nami appeared out of nowhere. Mirage is off. Whoa, a woman just popped up. The squid fishman was startled. Is this okay, Jinbei? Nami held up a piece of paper. It's a letter from the celestial dragon. The fishmen who read the letter were instantly shocked. Robin's got the key. Robin walked out from behind Shirahoshi and freed Neptune and the others from their chains. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sky was choked with smoke and ablaze with fire. Hey, look! What's that in the sky? Someone yelled as a lion and a whale soared above. A whale and a lion? What is that? Nope. It's a pirate ship. Frankie, perched in the cockpit, grinned. Heh, lion roar cannon. Fire. The Sunny's figurehead, a small lion, spat out a cannon muzzle, aimed straight at the new fishman pirates. With a thunderous blast, the Sunny came to a halt in the square. Alright, whale. Take 'em away. Frankie hollered. Princes, get the king up here, quick. Jinbei urged Shark Star and his brothers. Not gonna happen. Stop. Toss, a fishman pirate officer, swung his massive pendulum, ready to crush them. But the whale was faster, whisking Neptune and the princes away. Ah! They've got the royal family. Damn it! Give them back. On the whale's back, Neptune lay weak, gazing down at the square. What's going on? It was all part of Jinbei and Straw Hat's plan. Shark Star sighed in relief. Meanwhile, the residents of Fishman Island stared dumbfounded as the Straw Hat pirates disembarked. Seriously? You show up the second the princess calls? Where were you when we were calling for help, Star? I didn't think they'd actually show, one murmured. Hey, look! It's them. Whoa, so many people. Chopper exclaimed. Oh, these guys all enemies? Usopp whimpered. I'd say at least 70,000 or 80,000, no, closer to 100,000, Sanji estimated. Yo-ho-ho. This could be a bit of a pickle, Brook chuckled nervously. Time to use my singing to show them the right path, Yuta declared. These guys are weak. How about I just age them all into old people? Bonnie suggested. Just stay in the room and relax. I'll handle this, Zoro said. Sanji bristled. Like hell you will. If Zoro gets hurt, he's mine. What did you say, you jerk? Yuta, Luffy said they're friends, but they sure don't look like it, Bonnie observed, her childish curiosity piqued. Well, they have a complicated friendship, Yuta replied, a fond smile touching her lips as she remembered playing with Luffy as a child. All right. Time for some action. Frankie, itching for a fight, surveyed the battlefield. Let's make this a super brawl, guys, got from the crowd of Fishman Island residents. Look! The Straw Hat Pirates are coming off the ship. Straw Hat Luffy. Are you really going to destroy Fishman Island? Tell us. Are you friends or enemies of Fishman Island? Luffy, annoyed by the clamor, grumbled. But for Shirahoshi's sake, he declared, friends or enemies. That's your call, asterisk this is just like I read. Another classic scene, among the Fishman pirates' rank and file, Luffy's name sparked fear. That Straw Hat Luffy. The guy who stormed Navy headquarters twice and took down Golden Lion. Even their pirate ship is here. It's the entire Straw Hat crew. But the officers under Hody were too thickhead to care. Giagia. Where do you think you're going, Straw Hat? Daruma snarled. How dare you? Gio roared, the residents of Fishman Island gasped as Luffy left their allegiance up to them. Luffy wanted to puke at this practice. Been waiting for you, Straw Hat, someone sneered. Madam Shirley, the Straw Hat pirate has arrived, a group of Fishman children reported. He saved His Majesty the King, another added. Shirley looked down at the square, a mix of emotions swirling within her. Luffy seemed to sense her gaze and flashed her a chilling grin. Alright, Jinbei, good job. And that guy still hasn't passed out yet. That guy being Hody Jones. Luffy, you did great. Nami chimed in, the residents of Fishman Island, their expressions shifting again, chanted Luffy's name. Heh, you're quite the hero. So you got the king back for a minute. Don't get cocky. You're just a human pirate, Gio scoffed. But no one paid him any mind. Just then, Brook, who hadn't spoken to the princess yet, approached Shirahoshi. Miss Mermaid Princess, you are absolutely stunning. Yo-ho-ho-ho. Forgive my boldness, but may I have a glimpse of your panties? Bang. Bang, two fists slammed into Brook's skull. Don't be rude to the Mermaid Princess. Nami snapped, brandishing her iron fist. Miss Nami's fist is as powerful as ever. But Mr. Luffy, why did you hit me again? Brook wailed. Don't talk to cowardly Star like that. Or I'll rip your skeleton apart and feed it to Red Dog. Luffy growled, channeling Sanji but lacking his finesse. Ignored. Daruma complained. That's because I whispered it on purpose, Gio said. Hey, those guys' captains got their butts kicked by Luffy, so why are they acting so calm? Chopper wondered aloud. You'd think they'd be freaking out. Chopper, I told you, I was holding back. No fun if it ends too quickly. They're too weak. I'm just itching for a good fight because I'm bored. Luffy waved dismissively. Here, Nami said, handing a paper to Shirahoshi. Seeing her puzzled expression, she explained, a letter from the Celestial Dragons. Thank you so much. This is the hope our mother left for Fishman Island. Lord Luffy, I would still prefer if you called me by my real name. Shirahoshi fidgeted, nervously poking her fingers together. Cowardly Star is my nickname for you, don't you like it? He remembered Shirahoshi enjoying it in the original story. Lord Luffy, you said that people who aren't strong won't be loved by the people they like. So I have to work hard and stop being afraid, so I can. Shirahoshi trailed off, embarrassed to speak her mind in front of so many people. Fortunately, she was interrupted when Hody hauled himself off the wall. The drug, yes, is still working, Gio observed. After all, you've taken so much, Daruma added. That legendary mermaid princess with that power, Shirahoshi has to be eliminated ASAP. TSK, it seems I've completely fallen into your trap, Jinbei. Hody wasn't a complete idiot. I should have realized it when you let yourself get captured so easily. You're friends with humans. I hate guys like you the most.